Holy cow, every cookie she touches actually crumbles into a million pieces. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, I didn't think I would be saying this today, have the biggest Hollywood flop in history. Cookie Queens is the biggest box office disaster ever.
Meghan Markle just stepped out to help promote the new documentary about Girl Scouts that she and Archewell helped to executive produce. But instead of spotlighting the girls or the organization or the film, Meghan Markle made it all about herself. Who's surprised?
A cinema in Los Angeles, early August. 4 little girls have a film out, and the woman on the stage in front of their parents has just been asked a question about them. She doesn't answer it. Her husband, she tells the room, was a helicopter pilot in the British Army for 10 years. He wasn't. She's out by the better part of a decade about the man she married in public to strangers.
Prince Harry, helicopter pilot for 10 years in the British Army? Simmer down, Meghan.
Then she keeps going. There's a lovely little line waiting at the end of it about a storm, and the sun above the storm, and zooming out a bit. That line is hers. She has had it in her pocket for 7 years. Now, before anyone tells me a slip is just a slip, hold on. 2 days later, that film opened in 446 cinemas and took $735 a screen.
This is a couple who had international publicity around this movie, and they could not make more than $800 per theater. The humiliation has got even worse, though, because the line that the mainstream media is picking up on, and I don't blame them, by the way, is the fact that Cookie Queens has been beaten at the box office by a CatVideoFest compilation.
And Lady Colin Campbell has one sentence about this woman that explains every last bit of it. Let's get one thing straight at the top, and then we never need to come back to it. The 4 girls in that film did their job. They sold their biscuits, they let a camera crew follow them about for the better part of 2 years, and they turned up.
I want to be clear as well, guys. None of my criticisms are an indictment on the young girls involved. None of it is. They have been part of this production. They got to meet a duchess, and I will not take that away from them because I'm sure they are so happy and excited and thrilled. And that's awesome for them. That is 100% awesome for them. And I wish them nothing but the best in their future endeavors. But let's also be clear. The entire movie to get you into theaters is just based on, these girls are cute, aren't they? That actually looks kind of skeevy considering the fact that there were only 2 other people in the theater with me, and one was a man by himself, and I just don't even want to know why that man was there.
Not one word of what follows is aimed at them. Every word of it is aimed at the grown woman who took their evening and wore it like a coat. She drove 2 hours from Montecito to sit in that room. 2 hours on her own on a Wednesday. Remember that, will you? It comes back later, and it comes back ugly.
A special screening of the documentary Cookie Queens. This was the doc that premiered at Sundance. Harry and Meghan are listed as executive producers. I believe Netflix just slung their names on there to fulfill the contract that Netflix was looking to just exit as quickly as possible.
And the thing nobody in that cinema knew to ask her, the thing I still cannot get a straight answer to, is the simplest question there is about this film.
And this type of behavior is not new for Meghan. Every time she has an interview or an appearance that's meant to be about someone or something else, Meghan and making comments like this are about her.
What did she and her husband put into it? Money? A phone call? A name on a poster? And a fortnight of photographs? Hold that thought. We have some ground to cover first, and the answer, when it turns up, is worse than the silence.
The question she asked was not, do you have any advice on how to get through difficult times? It wasn't, what do you do or think about when you're having a hard day? Nope, that wasn't the question. The question was about the girls. And that's how she answered. And it only fuels the popular belief that Meghan Markle is very high in narcissism and that her behaviors often resemble toxic narcissistic traits.
So Cookie Queens did not make it into the top 10. So Tony here at number 12 was only in 6 theaters. Like, look at the difference, how huge a difference there are between, these are basically the same, but these are radically different. I love this comparison here. You could actually even drag in Teenage Sex and Death at Camp. I mean, look at the disparities. So Cookie Queens was in 446 theaters and it made $734 per theater. Compared to Tony, that was only and each theater made about $60,000.
Friday, the 7th of August. the film goes out into 446 American cinemas. 446 is a proper release. That is not a quiet little run for the faithful, a small documentary with no stars in it and no explosions and no soundtrack. Anybody's gonna hum. Get 6 screens, maybe 12, in the 2 cities where people who like documentaries live.
And that is simply not good enough, of course, for a film that had this much hype and had these 2 human beings behind it. Indeed, the docu-film about Girl Scouts is being trashed by Hollywood insiders. One industry source telling the Times newspaper, not taking the good name of the world's #1 cat video festival in vain, this is by any measure a pretty pitiful return.
446 cinemas is the number a distributor hands you when somebody has convinced them there's an audience out there with money in its hand. By Sunday night, the tills had been counted, $327,000 across all 446 rooms. That works out at $735 a screen over 3 days.
And I'm going to explain why and take you through the figures, but effectively, the per screen delivery for this film is way less than $1,000, making it completely not viable for any more cinemas to take it on.
In a country of 340 million people, $735 is a cinema selling about 60 tickets across an entire weekend, which is 1 screening on a wet Tuesday in February. It didn't make the top 10, nowhere near the top 10.
So it's CatVideoFest 2026, but I want to watch it. It sounds like it's a curated reel, 70 minutes long, and this is what I love. It's listed that the proceeds will go to animal charities. No celebrities, no powerful, meaningful messaging, and still made more than double the money of Cookie by a wide margin, landing in the top 10 while their project didn't crack. Again, $300-something thousand.
And here's the part the internet found inside about 4 hours. And I have not stopped laughing about it. Opening the same day in 255 cinemas, under 60% of hers was a thing called CatVideoFest. 70 minutes of other people's cats, home videos, free on the internet, all of them, for nothing, forever. It took $568,000, $2,233 a screen. Do that sum with me and hear it out loud. On fewer than 2/3 of her cinemas, a reel of cats earned 3 times as much per room. 3 times. And the cats made the top 10. She didn't.
Here's the box office numbers. It opened on the 7th in 446 theaters, almost $328,000 worldwide, according to Box Office Mojo. That's pretty bad.
I know Sussex Squad was trying to do math again, and they don't understand it. They were just trying to say, well, Cookie Queens didn't come out in a lot of theaters, maybe 2 or 3. Wait, what?
Yeah, 446
That's a lot.
theaters. It's nothing to sneeze at. The figure is not enough to break the documentary into the weekend's top 10 releases. Among those that did make the cut, however, was Will Brandon's Cat Video Fest. So get this, the cat compilation video was only in 255 theaters, and it still managed to earn almost $569,000 globally.
One of the reviewers who went, and there were not many, sat in a Thursday preview and counted the house. 3 people, including her. Hooray for the cats, said the comments. Honestly, what else is there left to say about it? Now here's the bit that stinks. Somewhere in a Los Angeles office, a very expensive streaming executive had run this exact test months earlier, quietly, in private, with every piece of data on Earth in front of him. And he got the same answer she got on Sunday night, and it cost him nothing at all. We'll come back to him. Make of that what you will. Right.
Harry and Meghan had to pay to get their names added to this thing as executive producers. I would love to know how much they paid to get their names added to this thing. Oh, it's just too funny.
Let's look at the credits. 2 independent production companies made this film, and a long line of documentary foundations paid for it. Exactly the sort of people who fund films about girls and money and America and never see a red carpet out of it. Filming started in 2023. By the time Archewell came anywhere near it, the thing was done. We don't have to guess at that, she told us. In her own announcement, under her own name, the sentence reads like this: When we first viewed the early footage of this documentary, it was immediately something we wanted to be involved in. Early footage of a film somebody else had already made.
And Meghan and Harry came onto this project after it was already completely done, in the final stages, to help give it the funding that it needed. It could be that Harry and Meghan didn't deliver any actual funding to this. They're just doing the publicity to try to get it in the news and give it a little bit more coverage because of their infamous names.
So she watched a finished thing and fancied her name on it. Fine. Producers do that, except now go and look at how many other people had exactly the same idea. 18 executive producers, 18, plus 5 more co-executive producers stacked underneath them. For a fortnight, she has talked about this film the way a woman talks about a child she gave birth to. And she is one name of 18 on a marquee so crowded you'd want a magnifying glass, and a free afternoon. And before any of that, there was Netflix.
You know, that old documentary she slapped her name on, the one about Girl Scouts and how they manipulate and they are kind of mean to each other and how cute ones only win and all the weird, sad subtext that I've gone with you before. Well, she slapped her name on it as an executive producer, which means the producers of Cookie Queens thought, yeah, let's bring her on. She might get us some publicity, but also, she'll probably get us into Netflix. However, as I broke the news, what was it, earlier this year? It feels like 5 years ago. No, Netflix passed.
They have a first look deal with her. That is the whole arrangement. She brings them things, they get first refusal, so she brought them this. And the streamer that has handed these 2 more money than most of us will see in 9 lifetimes looked at a warm, well-made film about American girls and small business and said no thank you. That is the bit that should stop you. Never mind the box office. The box office is what happens when the public gets a vote. Netflix voted first, in private, with all the numbers in front of them, and they passed. So the film went to an independent distributor instead. And that distributor did the one thing a small documentary should never do. They put it in 446 rooms. 446 screens is not a release. It's a measuring instrument.
The Tony film, I think, is actually more indicative of failure, and that's because when it came to the Tony film, the Camp, Nisama, they're both very, very limited releases, only in a handful of cinemas, like not even 5 and 6 or something like that, minuscule amounts. She's in a lot more theaters, and I think they did that in part on the back of Meghan. I would not be surprised if its larger release was due to Meghan Markle. So we do have a couple of quotes here. Says, not taking the good name of the world's #1 cat video festival in vain. This is by any measure a pretty pitiful return because Meghan Markle can make any money off of this.
Somebody looked at that name and decided it was worth a wide opening, and the wide opening measured exactly what the name is worth now, in public, to the dollar, $735, which brings us, rather neatly, back to the question I keep circling. The film was already finished when they arrived. Foundation money had paid for it. Their own streamer had said no. So what did the pair of them put in? Money? Nobody will say. A budget? Never published? Not a line of it? And people have looked. How convenient. The whisper doing the rounds, and it has been doing the rounds from January onward on every board and under every article, is that the credit was never earned, that it was bought, that the 2 of them paid to be added to a list of 18. I'd love to know how much. So would everybody else. And the silence out of Montecito on that particular question has been deafening.
This is Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Every mainstream media outlet have been talking about Cookie Queens. This is publicity that the Putin documentary could only imagine garnering, and still no one showed up. And I'll tell you why. These 2 are a drag on any project. They don't boost a project, they drag a project.
Back to the cinema. There was a second moment in that room, and most people let it sail past at the time. Somebody asked her a light one. Which Girl Scout biscuit best describes your personality? It's the question you ask to fill 90 seconds and get a laugh out of the parents. Her answer, in full, trefoil. It's classic, it's sweet, and it's all the same color. I like tonal.
Yeah. I had, the Queen, the late Queen, the horrible late Queen. How dare she, Jobbo, had to be in the bright colors. And I had to be in the tonal, sort of the beige clothing. Oh, guess what, Jobbo? That was her choice, as she has now admitted in this video, because that's how she likes to dress. Look.
Which Girl Scout cookie best describes your personality?
Classic. I can see trefoil for you.
Like classic, it's sweet. Also, it's all the same color, and I like tonal dressing. It's the worst answer in the world.
Let me remind you where we have heard about color before. 2022, a Netflix series the two of them made about themselves, in which she explained to the world why she spent her royal years in beige and cream and porridge. Her words then, "I rarely wore color, so I could just blend in. I'm not trying to stand out here." And the line everybody remembers, "I don't want to embarrass the family." That was the grievance. One of the founding bricks of the entire Sussex story, the poor woman, drained of color, ordered into the background, made to disappear so she wouldn't outshine anybody. 4 years on, in front of a room of Girl Scout parents, with nothing at stake and nobody listening closely, she tells us she just likes tonal.
I mean, how stupid is she? It's like, do you not remember? Do you not remember? Like, that was literally one of your main arguments about why you were forced out of the British royal family. And there she is now admitting during this promotional campaign, oh no, I love tonal dressing. So it was just a lie. It was just a total lie.
Yeah, I mean, we know also, didn't she, that when she was advised, the Queen tried to give her some help and gave her, saying, oh, why don't you got to wear advised, we wear a hat on this occasion, or we wear gloves. Meghan saying, I think it was on that first occasion there when the Queen was in her emerald outfit, I don't, my hair looks better down. And she didn't really get the message when it came to anything like that. She would completely refuse to listen to advisors or refuse to sort of play whatever, the Queen was only advising about gloves and a hat because she would be wearing gloves and a hat for that occasion.
She got the memo. She never read the memo. It was about what she looks best in, and it always was. And this is where I stop finding it funny and start finding it interesting. One of those moments on its own is a slip. 2 of them in one room, inside an hour, one inflating her husband's record and one taking a hammer to her own 4-year-old complaint. That isn't a bad night. That's a woman who cannot open her mouth without handing you something. Lady Colin Campbell put it better than I am about to on her own channel a few days ago, talking about this woman in general and not about this film at all. She said one sentence I have not been able to shake.
Meghan's presence at these events and her involvement in this film and its promotion is raising eyebrows for a number of reasons. One of which is that Meghan aggressively uses her title. She has a staff member announce her name and her title when she enters a room, for goodness sakes, the most bizarre thing you could possibly imagine. And she relies on her title for everything, to get special treatment, for all these sorts of things. She's very entitled with it, right?
Everything she does ends up confirming everything she wishes to deny. Read that again, then look at the fortnight. She wants to be taken seriously as a producer, and she tells us herself she joined after watching somebody else's finished footage. Girl Scout, she says, and no photograph of her in the green sash has ever surfaced in her entire adult life. A film about 4 little girls. And she spent the evening on her husband. 4 years of insisting the beige was forced on her, and then the quiet part goes straight into a microphone at a biscuit event. Lady C has another line about what this woman is really chasing. If her primary objective is attention on a daily basis, she said, irrespective of what the attention is, then she is succeeding brilliantly, on 446 screens at $735 each.
So if Meghan really truly wanted to soften her image and support children, affiliating with an organization that is genuinely free or puts families first financially would have been a far more authentic move than backing a glossy documentary about a corporate cookie machine that takes advantage of families and girls who just want to participate in the Girl Scouts organization. And when you contrast it with, for example, the real royals who support organizations that help communities and families and doesn't charge them up the wazoo just to show up and be there, just to be part of it, take massive profits to the top, to the corporate teams.
Now, let's talk about what she was standing in front of and what she never once mentioned. The biscuit program turns over roughly $800 million a year, around 200 million boxes. It is one of the largest girl-led commercial operations on Earth, and every autumn it is run door to door by children. Here's the split, and this is in the film's own captions, on screen, in the thing she put her name to. A box costs about $6. Of that $6, roughly $1 goes back to the girls' own troop. The other 5 travel upwards, some to the regional councils, a good slice to the 2 licensed bakeries that make the biscuits, the rest to the national organization. And if the boxes don't sell, the parents carry it. That's how it works. Mom and dad eat the loss on the crates in the garage.
Let's say overindulgent, going, oh, you'll sell 500 boxes and they only sold 5. Like that's kind of dumb on the parents' part. You've put enormous pressure on the parents, and the parents now put on the child going, you have to sell because I have $6,000 that I will have to pay the Girl Scouts back if you don't sell these boxes. If that is a reality, then the Girl Scout system of selling cookies is broken. I'm sorry, but it is. That should not be the case at all.
$800 million a year. and the child at the door keeps a sixth of what she sells. The woman who directed the film knew precisely what she had. She said out loud in an interview that the real subject was girlhood and capitalism. One of the girls in the film says the money split is a political issue. The film knows. The film says it, and the woman who bolted her name onto the poster spent a fortnight talking about self-belief.
Wearing on stage a pair of Hermes sandals that retail for $1,100. She's wearing a Cartier Love bracelet, base retail price over $9,000.
Picture the stage, will you? 4 families in front of her, children who have spent a season hauling crates around a neighborhood for $1 a box. And there she is, in $1,100 sandals and a $9,000 bracelet, telling them what the Girl Scouts taught her about believing in herself.
Like, have a sense of proportion. You know, you're in front of Girl Scouts and their families, and they're all, most of them, I'm going to guess, are of modest means. Can you just fucking bring yourself down to earth from this? It's not even like you could say, as with Harry, she doesn't know any better. She grew up in a bubble. She grew up middle class, upper middle class in LA. But, you know, she wasn't rolling around in $1,100 sandals. She knows better. She just can't stop bragging.
Have a sense of proportion is what one American columnist said about that evening. And she was being kind. The same week, the very same week, the big new drop from her own lifestyle brand landed. A brand that sells premium biscuits, among other things, at prices those 4 families would want a reason to justify. And the new product, the thing the whole announcement was built around, was blackberry fruit spread, jam. The week her film opened, the news out of the Empire was jam.
Royal News Network posted, "Will the embarrassment never cease?" At least for Meghan Markle, it seems unlikely. I don't know why she put herself out there so much on the promotional tour, as it looks even more like a failure on her. She owns it now. And the thing is, it's all well and good for that industry expert to say, well, these documentaries fly on streaming services rather than in cinemas. My question would be then, Meghan, you've got a first look deal with Netflix. Why couldn't you get them to broadcast Cookie Queens? Because it's rubbish and they are done with you.
Convenient timing that, not once, in a fortnight of interviews about a film she keeps calling personally meaningful, has she mentioned the dollar. Not a word. She talked about the sun above the storm. There was tonal. There was her husband's decade in a helicopter that lasted rather less than a decade. Not a syllable about the $5 that never reached the child.
She genuinely did get duped in some sort of way. She thought that she was marrying a multi-billionaire. That's how she saw Harry. Unfortunately, the reality of when she came to him, he was living in Frogmore Cottage with his sort of stash and his picked-apart couch. She found very quickly that he, first of all, is not a cash cow. He's got some inheritance. And second of all, he's useless outside of the royal gates and totally useless in America.
Right. The husband. 2 names sit on those credits as executive producers, hers and his. Styled properly, both of them, the way they always are. He did not attend one single promotional event, not one. She did the Los Angeles screening alone, the press alone, the entire fortnight alone. And the only time the pair of them have stood together for this film was a red carpet in January, back when it was still a nice night out with photographers. Now go back to the start of this video, to the detail I asked you to hold on to. She drove 2 hours from Montecito to sit in that cinema. 2 hours there, 2 hours back, on her own, on a Wednesday, for a film she is one of 18 producers on. He couldn't cross a lawn.
Her demands, this director said, were worse than any other actor he had worked with, and he had worked with true A-listers. She would demand private jets if there was not a first-class flight available. And he was like, are you kidding? Like, you think our small production has the ability to fly you on a private jet? Like, you're nuts.
But
that's
she
how
thinks
she
she's
thinks.
Beyonce.
She
thought
does.
she was Beyonce then. And then she literally, she is a social climber and she wanted to marry.
And here's what makes that worse rather than funnier. The reason she was in that room at all was to talk about him. The anecdote she picked, the one she wanted those parents to take home, was about her husband and his 10 years in the sky. She stood up in front of strangers and spent his service record like currency. Then he would not turn up to the room she spent it in.
Her success comes entirely on the back of the man she married. She is not achieved great things on her own. She has achieved things, sure. The success she has now is solely the result of Harry and nothing else, of Harry and his connection to the royal family. None of it is based on Meghan Markle's own effort or talents. We're proud to have her and Prince Harry shining a light on these girls' story. Harry's not shining a light. He has not been allowed to speak at all.
Then there's the calendar, which is the small detail that quietly finishes the whole enterprise off. American biscuit season runs from about the 1st of February to the middle of March. That is when the tables go up outside the supermarkets, when the boxes are everywhere, when half the country is arguing about thin mints. 6 weeks in which a film about Girl Scouts selling biscuits sells itself. They released it in August. One of the American box office analysts said it out loud afterwards, and he was polite about it. For a small documentary, timing is marketing, and this one missed the very window that could have made it feel relevant. 18 executive producers, not one of them owns a calendar. And that's the pattern, isn't it? Look at the ledger.
You think this is a big victory, and that somehow all of the stories, which are factual, which is that Netflix has dumped your because Was Never is the worst lifestyle brand in the history of lifestyle brands. Because what was that show called? I can't even remember. With Love Meghan. With Love Meghan was the worst piece of lifestyle TV programming in the history of lifestyle TV programming. And the fact that they even unfollowed you, Ted included, on social media.
The Polo series, a dud. Live to Lead, a stinker nobody finished. With Love, Meghan, the novel adaptation shelved before it started. Archetypes, which went nowhere and took a Spotify deal down with it. That 40 by 40 thing, which went nowhere at all. And the Netflix arrangement itself, cut down last year from a full deal to a first look, with people in that industry saying out loud that if there's nothing to show soon, they can't imagine it being renewed. 6 years in Hollywood, 2 things landed. Both of them were about the royal family.
It's just so wrong to do what she's doing. She has nothing to stand on her own. You know, she doesn't have her own talent, her own way of just making it herself. I mean, my goodness, you married the prince, okay? Can you just try to do something on your own now? And now you're just, going into the family, his dead mother now. Just is so bad. I can't understand why Harry hasn't already made a move by now, because it's only going to get worse from here. It gets worse.
So where does that leave her? Count the doors that have opened just wide enough for somebody to have a proper look at her this year and then shut. Netflix cut the deal, then refused the film. The organization whose name is on the poster weren't best pleased when it was being made and only screened it once strangers had approved it. The American public gave her $735 a screen and went to look at Cats instead.
I have no sympathy. Yes, she should give up. She should give up because she sold the world a pup. None of us buy in to what she is selling. And also she's just really goddamn terrible at it.
And there is one door left. The story doing the rounds is that a room at Buckingham Palace was put on the table for a visit in September, that it was turned down, and that by the time somebody in Montecito changed their mind about it, they were told the moment had gone. Draw your own conclusions.
About offering a place at Buckingham Palace until really at the last minute. And I think that it did seem to me, they were fortunate that Harry hadn't responded and had just assumed he would just turn up and there'd be someone there to take his bags and at Buckingham Palace, when there are other places, there are other
residences.
Yes,
exactly. That don't have the symbolism attached. Exactly.
Think about the timing of that, will you? The commercial case for staying away has just been measured, in public to the dollar. Look at the Hollywood Ledger. Her streamer is eyeing the exit. And suddenly, there is an enormous amount of interest in a bedroom in London, and in the protection and the position and the role that come attached to the address. One of the royal biographers put the motive plainly, and he didn't dress it up.
He was being pushed into a corner by his son, saying that the grandchildren want to see you. But there's been a slow creep in what Harry and Meghan are trying to, after their failures financially themselves and trying to monetize the royal family. We're trying to get back in now because at least we had the security of the property that we would have. We'd have security paid for, and we'd have a role to play. But if they do believe that, they're missing the point about where the royal family was in 2018, 2019 to where it is now. And they are people that have been seen to be attacking. The royal family is not in the same position as it was then when the late Queen was alive.
After their failures in trying to monetize the royal family, he said, they're thinking, well, we're trying to get back in now. At least we'd have the security paid for, and we'd have a role to play. 6 years she has spent telling us the problem was them. This week, the problem got measured, and honestly, There is no version of this where she comes out well.
Do you think that potentially Meghan is starting to realize Harry is not all that and she's going to have to go her own way and pursue a sort of Jeff Bezos type of character for the dreams that she wants to live? Because we know she doesn't want to step foot in Britain again, and I know that she has, but I don't know if she'll be stepping foot in London anytime soon.
Well, I think you're spot on in her terms of her ambition, but I don't think, with due respect, she's known for a very long time that Harry didn't have the money that she would have liked him to have.
Next weekend, the screen count halves. 446 down to about 200 if the trade predictions hold. September is 4 weeks away, and that room in London is still empty. Mark my words, watch both. Write your turn. Do you think they paid for that producer credit? Or do you think somebody handed it over for the publicity? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. Hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who care about these stories. And subscribe. There's a lot more coming this week. The screen count drops on Friday, and when it does, somebody in that camp is going to be blamed for all of it in public. I'll have that one for you the moment it lands.